hearing from Eva about how long she has been with Helpage, and even you, Prakash, mentioned some 10 years. And then from the oldest person, Mr. Vas, and from the oldest affiliate, yourself, sir, I'm very young in Helpage. Last evening, I got a chance to call my mother, having been away from Delhi for 3 or 4 days. I could talk to her every day on the phone, to just see how she is, and to get a banging on my head from her to keep me on track. So she said, where you been for 3 days? You haven't called. I said, I'm in Hanoi. I just finished a conference on aging. She said, oh, good. Did you learn anything? And she said, if you keep learning, you will live well and will live long. So I did sit down and say, what have I learned? We had a rich conference with lots of discussions, lots of presentations, lots of charts, lots of numbers. And you recollect, charts showing variations, lots of lines. All countries are not the same. Some go faster, some go slower, some are doing different things. Even within countries, there was a chart shown yesterday at the Parliamentarians Conference about my country, India, that aging in Kerala is like aging in Sri Lanka, whereas aging in the middle of India is like in Afghanistan. So we are like many countries, and we are not the same inside ourselves. So Asia Pacific is not the same. All countries are different. And so clearly, as you pointed out, one size solution cannot fit us all. So that's one thing I learned, that we are diverse and one size is not going to fit us all. The first line, the opening line of Leo Tolstoy's Anna Karenina says, all happy families are alike, and each unhappy family is unhappy in its own way. We all are assembled because we are unhappy about the ways in which elderlies in our society are being isolated, not being respected, not being taken care of. But we're all unhappy in our own ways because our societies are different. Our goals may be the same. The SDGs are a universal set of goals. But there's a difference between the SDGs and the Millennium Development Goals, a very significant difference. The SDGs are recognizing that each country must take its own path. It's not one standard and one uniform set of metrics for all. So we must all make our own paths from where we are in our unhappiness and in the situations of our economies and societies towards something that we all aspire to, a universal care and respect for the elderly in our societies. So I learned that too. And I honor what you said from Malaysia, that it's not easy to transport very precise solutions which have worked in one country in their precision to work in our countries. We have to discover our own path, learning from principles that others can teach us. We make our paths, our own paths, by walking on them. And Eduardo, you can say it again in Spanish if you so wish. What does it say? Yes, we make our own paths by walking on them. And when we walk together, we make a broader path, which others find easier to tread on, and then we can all move faster together. So while we are making our own paths, we also are now working together to make a broader path on which can follow our governments, our civil societies, and others as they share with us our aspiration to create a better world for the elderly. There is a global movement, but there must be many local movements. Another lesson I learned throughout the conference, has been mentioned already, was that changing laws is not sufficient to create the goodness that we wish to have in our societies. We need to change behaviors. We need to reconstruct communities. We need to create communities. Laws by themselves will not create a better world for the elderly. It will not get a better world at all. But laws are easy to note down and transport to someone else. You pass this law also, but it will not change the condition of the society, which is what many other factors that are driving what it is, what each society is. So we need a global movement, but we need many local movements, country by country and community by community. If I took one lesson away from this conference, it was the action is in the communities. Our work as advocates for the cause of the elderly is, of course, to press the governments to change the laws, and we're doing it pretty well. And our work is also to change the behaviors in communities, the conditions in communities, the sense of responsibility and the capabilities in communities to make themselves better communities. We tell the governments, you pass the laws and they will. And then they will rightly say to us, but then you help to make the communities better. Our work in Vietnam, and I say ours, I mean our members here, our affiliates and members here, our work in Vietnam has impressed on the government to change laws, and they have very recently changed the law, which is to ensure that community capabilities will be developed. And they are expecting us to do that work. That's not the government's work. That is civil society's work. And we got to that position with the Malaysian government because we did that work first. We are respected for working with the communities, and so we have a voice with the government to say, now, we understand, we do, now you do. What you can do as a government is to make a law. Yesterday, well, you get honored because you have a title, but that's not the work. The work is done by others, and when someone has to wear the robe and the cap and to receive, and people were asking me, well, you're chancellor of a university, and so what do you do? I said, it's a formal position. The vice chancellor and the deans, they are making and running the university. But comes the convocation time, I have a very fancy mortarboard with a tassel and a nice silk robe, and I get the pictures taken of me, and I hand out the degrees to the people. Yesterday I was very proud to be invited to attend the meeting of the parliamentarians, in which a memorandum was signed between the Asia Pacific Foundation for the parliamentarians and HelpAge. And I was asked to receive it. I did no work to make this possible. The work to make this possible, that HelpAge is recognized as the partner to the parliamentarians and their international organization in Asia. That work has been done by you. And I want to then just hand over this degree to you, Eduardo. Thank you. Something is changing in the world. It was always there, but I think we're recognizing the need to change it. Older people need our charity. There are many people in the world who need our charity, but they don't want our charity. What they want is to be self-reliant, like Maira. That is what a child wants. And that is what the elderly are also wanting, for as long as they can have it. That is their self-reliance and their dignity. We, HelpAge International is an international NGO headquartered in a rich country, and there are many such great organizations who were earning in rich countries, from people and corporations in rich countries and rich governments in rich countries, and were with a kind heart helping those who were not so fortunate in the poorer countries. So international NGOs centered in the rich countries were disbursing charity to other countries. And so yes, our international NGO, Helpage International, is supervised by the Charity Commission in the UK. There is today a crisis of condition for international NGOs. Condition means that they don't have any longer access to as much money and as freely as they used to have. It's partly to do with the conditions of their economies, the economies of their own countries. Whereas the needs and the recognition of the needs for children, for women, for elderly people is growing. So there's a mismatch here. The international NGOs are no longer in the condition to be able to satisfy the needs if it's based on charity. And they're competing causes for us as the elderly, as you know. The cause of the children is a popular cause, it's economically a more justifiable cause. The cause of women, and don't mind my language, is a sexy cause. It is so, and should be so. It should be at long last paying attention to it. And there are many more women than there are elderly people. Half the world is women. And there are many more children, if you take the world as a whole. And there are fewer elderly people. So we are competing against popular causes and larger causes. So to get money on a charitable basis for elderly people, in a world in which money for charity is not plenty, is tough. However, our work is not charity, as I said. The elderly really don't want just charity. In fact, they prefer not to have charity, but help them to live a decent, dignified, capable lives. So we have to be an enabler, a facilitator. And that is the crisis of being of our NGO, International, Helpage International, and other international NGOs also. We are not a charity, but we live like a charity, and we know how to do charity processes. Do we know how to enable communities to become better communities, and in them to provide a great role for the elderly, because the elderly can make the whole community better by their participation and the energy that they have, the wisdom that they have, the time that they have to help repair and to grow better communities. So we, Helpage International, are seeing that we must shift from being a charity to becoming an enabler, a facilitator at Helpage International, therefore a facilitator of many networks. As you said, it will be certain countries who see each other as alike, sure, a smaller network there. There are within countries, like we said, in communities, like in my countries, in the States, or even going down to villages here in Vietnam. So many networks, local networks, state networks, country networks, regional networks, and perhaps, yes, an international network also. We must be enablers and facilitators, and we can learn from each other how to be enablers and facilitators. So there is some benefit of being part of an international network, even if the specific solutions are not transportable. The skills of being an enabler, a teacher and a facilitator, are transportable, and we can learn from each other. It is hard if you've been at the center and had the money to disperse and people were thanking you for giving the money, to come off that high horse and that pedestal and to be supporting from the bottom and not ordering from the top. So there is a crisis of being that I experience, and Kate will talk about it. But I must say I'm so pleased and proud that our directors in London have led the change. I came as a young kid. A few months ago, they had already been thinking about how they would change themselves, their being, their relationships with the network, not to be seen as the center in London ordering and sending money and asking for reports, but to be something else. We're not there yet. It's a very big shift, but we're going there. And Kate will talk about that later today. You have in this network already, and you've talked about it, stories, been on a long journey already. And on that journey, you've learned a lot, you've changed a lot. It's time, as they say at the end of the day's walk, sit down by the campfire and also reflect on how did the day's walk go? What did you learn about how to traverse the jungle, how to take care of each other on the walk, how to preserve the water and the resource. And with those lessons explicitly, you can take the next day's walk faster, more efficiently, and at the next day's walk. It's a long journey. So what you will be doing today is a reflection, and you're going to do it on tables together, and you're mixed, deliberately mixed. Because if you're all academics, you talk academics. If you're all Malaysia, you talk Malaysia. We want to learn, we are traveling together, but we don't get a chance. Because you're walking, and the other person is walking. Sit down. What were you experiencing as you walked, and what was I experiencing, and what can we learn together? So that's the intention primarily of the day today. And from that, reflections amongst yourself, we expect to get back, that is the Asia Pacific, whatever you call yourself now, but otherwise you're expanding, node, and certainly the node in London, a much better world for the elderly and for everybody. So I thank you once again I humbly thank you for allowing me to be with you. And if I've said anything stupid, I'm still learning, as my mother says. I'll have to tell her what I said. I'm sure she's going to tell me I haven't learned enough. I shall. Thank you so much.